Muted.
Joining me today, joining JJ and I. This is one of my absolute favorite topics to discuss. So I've been looking forward to this, and I do want it to be very interactive. So as JJ says, we'll have you typing in the chat area, and also we will be asking a couple of things as well. I might be having a couple volunteers who will walk through a couple of exercises with as well. So just to give you a couple of words about myself, my name is Kathy Barton. I'm an SVP of the Adler group. I've been working with Lou, JJ, I hope 50 is the new 30, for 10 years now, which is amazing, working primarily with hiring managers, but also doing some recruiter training as well. And my background is marketing and HR software, so I worked for companies such as PeopleClick, and I'll apologize for that to begin with. But marketing is really very close to my heart, and so this whole topic of messaging obviously is critical. Thank you guys so much for typing in some of your challenges that you face. And obviously everything from, finding the right candidates. Well, finding them is one thing. The second one is what Carissa said, which is getting responses from them. Finding them these days with everything that you can do with the internet is not necessarily the problem. The problem is getting them to engage with you. And that's really where messaging comes into account. So what you don't want is to have the situation where you get them to accept a phone interview and then don't want to move forward. How can you engage them all the way along the line? How can you present your company, your industry, your job as sexy? How do you attract people from larger companies to come to your smaller company? And really, a lot of that is all about this whole question of attraction, the rules of candidate attraction. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm not going to be talking so much about purple squirrels or necessarily how to present performance-based hiring. So that's not really the topic of today, although we may be able to have a separate conversation with you about that. But really, I think most of the other things that you've got in here are things that we're going to be able to address. Particularly when you're talking to this whole question of contract jobs to more stable, lower paying jobs, Yolanda, I think that's a big issue as well. So what are, in fact, the rules of candidate attraction? The first thing is it's easier if you have a great brand. So Google does not have a lot of trouble attracting people, neither does Facebook, who has been actually attracting people from Google, which is really pissing Google off. So it's, if you have a great brand, it makes it a whole lot easier to attract people. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm going to have a question for you about that. It's also easier if you have a great EVP. And what's EVP? Employee Value Proposition. And I'm going to define that and go into that into more detail, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. And then it's also easier if you have a great job. And what is a great job? Well, we're going to talk about that too. Then you have to understand your audience. So who is that person for whom your job is a great job? Because if you know who that person is, it's easier to target your messaging specifically to that person. And then, of course, messaging must be true, right? Can't say that you work for Google if you don't, but much more seriously than that, you don't want to present something that when somebody gets in for the interview, they're going to discover, well, this isn't quite the rosy picture that you painted in, conversations or in your ad or in your communications. Needs to be true, but just presented in its most positive light, for the person for whom this is a great job. Then it also has to be consistent. So I think most of us have had a experience where you've managed to get somebody to come in for an interview and you've told them all about the job, and then the next thing that happens is that they talk to the hiring manager and the hiring manager says something completely different, or the hiring manager's on board but somebody else from the hiring team is not. So the messaging has to be consistent about why your company is a great place to work and why this is a great job and exactly what the job is. The other thing that we really want to think about is ads, however we do those, posting on job boards, emails that we send to people, anything that goes externally from your company is an ad. You need to consider it as an ad, and it should follow advertising rules of thumb, which we're going to talk about. And then finally, it's all about the candidate. And this may seem obvious, but it's interesting that I think that one of the hardest problems that people have in doing any kind of recruitment messaging is seeing that message from an external perspective. We're all so used to seeing things from our own internal perspective, and sometimes we use language and sometimes we use acronyms that don't really have any meaning to people outside the company. Sometimes we forget to stress the things that are really great about your company because you take them for granted, and sometimes we do other things that aren't as effective in terms of that. So really, when I say it's all about the candidate, you really have to be thinking about, what is the external perspective here? What is the value of this job to the candidate? So these are all the things that we're going to be talking about today. So first question is, how strong is your brand? So if Google's a 10, how would you rate your brand? So just type it into chat and let's see what we've got here. So if Google's a 10, where would you put your job? Oh dear, 1. Got anybody out there? More? Oh, 1. Okay, so we don't have a lot of strong brands. 3, good. I was hoping we'd get somebody off the brand. Staffing agency, 4. Okay, 3. In the industry, 9. That's great. That's really good. An 8. Okay, good. So some of you, and in the industry as well, 9. And you're probably recruiting primarily from your industry, so that's really good. So anybody who's starting from a position of like 7 or above in terms of your brand. So Raymond, who had a 9 in the industry, and even if it's in your industry, that's fine, an 8 or a 9. Carolyn, who's an 8, those folks, you have an advantage right out of the gate, because there are people, if people are looking for jobs, you're one of the companies that they're going to be looking at. If you're talking to a passive candidate, you don't have to start out by explaining who your company is. They already are going to know who they are. So if you've got a strong brand, either in your industry or just in general, then you really have sort of an advantage. Now, that doesn't mean, oh, here's another 9. That's great. So that doesn't, oh, it took us 18 years to get there, right? Yeah, it takes a while to get there. But if you have that, then that's a great opening salvo for you, just your pure brand. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have to also be able to talk about why you're a great company to work for and why this is a great job. You still have to, continue to build your entire message, but starting out with a strong, recognizable brand really gives you a leg up in this challenge of trying to attract top performers, and particularly trying to attract and engage passive candidates. Okay, for those of you who are not, all of the folks that started who are 1 or 3, just do not have a lot of recognition, then you're going to have to work harder, guys. Sorry. And you already knew that, so I'm sure that's not a surprise to you because you face it every day. But you're really going to have to think about it from the concept of, why is your company a great company? And I was doing a training class with hiring managers the other day, and we were talking about messaging, and I said to them, okay, tell me, why is your company a great company? And total crickets. I mean, nobody had an answer to that. So you really need to have an answer that can consistently be delivered by everybody in the company about why your company is a great company to work for. And after we talked about it for a while, there were some great reasons why this was a good company. But you don't want to have that be something that people have to search for. If you have a good HR department, or if you've got some really good people on the recruiting side that you can work with your manager, one of the things you really need to do is sort of figure out, your brand is not just for recruiting, it's for everything. So somewhere out there you've figured out, why is your company a great company? And it has to do with things like often stability and growth, how fast you're growing, and the quality of the services that you provide, and everything like that, the same kinds of things that you would say to a potential customer. That's what really your brand is. So for those of you that are starting from a position of strength there, congratulations, that's really going to help you. And for those of you who are not, then I would really make sure you know what the statement is from your company about why your company is a great company. And if you don't know, talk to your marketing department, talk to the head of your group. If there isn't, it's probably on your website, and if it's not, then it should be. So really talking about why your company, and be able to essentially come out with that in 10 seconds. Why is your company a great company? So I am going to pick a Raymond here, because I know it took you 18 years to get here. So Raymond, I just want to know, you don't have to tell me your company if you don't want to, but you can, which is, why is your company a great company? Why have you got a good brand? JJ, do we need to unmute him, or can he unmute himself? Hello? Oh, Jeffrey. I'm sorry. I'm saying your last name. I'm saying Raymond instead of Jeffrey. There we go.
But he's in an office, so he can't talk.
Oh, he's in an office, so he can't type. Okay, he's typing for me. Okay, great. Oh, Jeffrey, I'm sorry. I called you Raymond. Oh, he can talk now.
Okay, so you just want to click on that little green icon next to your name to unmute you, Jeffrey. Oh, there you are. You're good to go.
Okay, Jeffrey, why is your company a great brand? Great company. Hello?
I can't hear you, Jeffrey. Your microphone might not work.
Oh, darn.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, because I really wanted to hear. Well, go ahead and type it in, and I'll do that. And I'll do that in a minute. I'll come back to that because I'd really like to talk about that a little bit. And in the meantime, I'm going to go back to Shabu, who also gave himself a 9. So if you can unmute yourself and tell me why your company is a great company. Why would you give yourself a 9 in the brand? Do we need to unmute him for him?
No,
are you able to?
He can't talk. Is self-muted. So if you, there you go. Now unmuted.
Sorry, I was talking on mute.
Oh, that's okay, no problem. So thank you for joining us. So why is your company a great company?
Well, we are part of General Electric, GE Energy.
Yep.
That itself is the answer. The whole world knows it's one of the best companies to work with. So we don't have to really cajole somebody to join us. We already have a good branding, a good structure, good processes. They know that they're getting to a good place. So that's what I would say.
Yep. And I cannot disagree with that at all. It's one of the strongest brands in the world, and at one point in my career I worked for GE, so I wouldn't disagree with that at all. So, although not with energy, with the information services group, so that's great. Yes, so if you're GE, then as Shabu says, you're golden, right? You've already got a very strong brand. And here Jeffrey was telling us that they worked very hard to cultivate strong sense of corporate culture, everything's aligned, high sense of personal capability. Okay, so that's a great thing. That's a wonderful internal perspective, Jeffrey. But my question would be, are you recognized in your industry for those things? In other words, from an external perspective, okay, cool. There you got it. That's the question, so perfect. So the next question is, how strong is your brand? Then the second question is, are you potentially an employer of choice? So here are some of the ones that are in fact employers of choice. You've got a little cool Airbnb welcome to new employees going on down there in that picture. HubSpot is also one that is. Oh yeah, people frequently leave to join us. That's a good sign. Bain & Company and Guidewire, these are the top 5 employers of choice according to the last survey that was done. So the question then becomes, do you consider yourself, even if you might not have a good brand, or be a GE, for example, then maybe even if you're a smaller company, are you an employer of choice? And by that, I would go, it's so perfect that Jeffrey said this, I would go to this question of, do people leave your competition to come to you? What kind of retention do you have? What's the average term of employment for the people? I mean, have people been with you for 30 years, which is always very true of GE, and things like that. So have you applied for local awards in your community to be publicized as an employer of choice, or as a top employer in your region or in your town or anything like that? Oh, there you go. So Rachel has very low turnover. It's very non-existent. So here you go. So even in a situation where you don't have a GE brand, you don't have a well-known brand, you haven't really invested in getting that brand out there, then so you look at Rachel earlier, she said from a brand point of view, then she's, she's a 1. But if you look at it from the perspective of are they an employer of choice? Yeah, very low turnover, virtually non-existent. So here you get an opening then when you're talking to somebody. You can't say, I'm with GE, which opens doors right out of the game, but you can say, hey, I'm with my company, and, we are, just thought you might, it's interesting to note that we have almost no turnover, that people stay. Here's some of the reasons why they do that, right? And then you get into, again, what does it mean to be an employer of choice? What makes you an employer of choice in terms of that? So, and we're going to do a little exercise about that as well. So, so even if you don't, so Rachel was the perfect example. Rachel, thank you very much. Even if you don't have a great brand, even if you're not a GE, you can still be an employer of choice as measured by retention, by turnover, by how long people stay, by how enthusiastic people are about working for your company. And we'll talk about how we can leverage that in our messaging as well. So those are our first couple things. And then let's talk a little bit more about what an employee value proposition is. So here's the definition, the classic definition. And here's the fish going to Jeffrey's company over there in the picture. It's the set of attributes that labor market and employees perceive as the value they gain through employment in your organization. So why do people want to work for you? It needs to be an accurate description of the employee's experience of working in an organization. So when you say, Rachel, and I'm going to ask you this question right now, so great, you have very low turnover, it's non-existent. Why? Why is your company a great company to work for? So what is this accurate description of the employee's experience at working in an organization? So if you want to type that in, I'd love to know. Hopefully it's something that differentiates your organization in the labor market, right, that makes you a better employer, a better potential employer than your competition. It must be real, relevant, and recognizable for an employee, not just for the people that work there, as well as for the people that are, working externally. There's nothing that's worse than running an ad that talks about your EVP and having the people that are currently working for you reading that and going, oh, yeah, right, which has happened before, as I'm sure you know. So that's that whole question of has to be real, relevant, and recognizable, and really it answers the question, why would a fully employed person leave their current job for your job? So what Jeffrey said, a lot of people leave the competition to come to your job. That's because he's got such a strong EVP. And here's Rachel's EVP. Because the employer treats us very well, benefits better than a large organization, I want to recognize the efforts and the great company culture. Okay, that's a great EVP. It's a great place to work, right? The upper management really values the employees. There's really great benefits that are important for a lot of people who are looking for jobs right now, and better than the competition. So there you've got something that differentiates your organization in the labor market. So what each of you really need to be able to do when we're talking about an EVP, you've got to be able to say, hey, here's my brand. And if you're GE, that's very easy. But if not, then you need to be able to say, hey, we're a great company, this is our brand, we are growing, we have never laid people out, whatever that is, your brand in the market in terms of that. And then here's why this is a great place to work, and as Rachel just did. And then you really want to talk about sort of that next step, which is why is this particular job a great job? And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So before you can go to that next step and say, okay, here's why we're a great company, here's why this is a great place to work, and here's why this particular job is a great job. And obviously, before you can do that as a recruiter, you've got to understand what the job is. And you've got to understand why it's a great job and who it's a great job for. So those of you who have been around performance-based hiring for a while are very familiar with a performance profile, but that's really the concept here. You take your job description, throw that away, move from that to a performance profile. This is the actual work that has to be done. In some cases, you know, that work is something that's going to be very attractive to somebody because in some way or another it is bigger and better than what they're doing now. So that's the argument you need to be able to make, that your job is going to be bigger and better than what they're doing now. And that can be a combination of learning a new technology platform, getting training on that platform, getting some kind of certification in insurance, for example, if you're moving into the insurance company. You know, this is the actual work that you're going to be doing. We're going to teach you how to be a salesperson. We are going to, whatever those things are, you know, building a team, improving the process, all of those things about what the work is. You need to make sure you know what that work is so that you can talk about why this is a great job. So it's not enough to talk about the brand of your company. It's not enough to be able to talk about why you're a good employer. You also really need to be able to talk about why your job is a great job. And to do that, you've got to go one step further then, of course, and add the EVP, which is here's the work and then here's the EVP. This is why it's a great job. And when you think about it, you need to have both of those, the work and the EVP, to be able to really sell that job as a career move in terms of moving forward. So now that we've sort of talked about that, need to find, the important thing for messaging is you need to lead with the EVP. And remember, we've said anything that goes out externally about an ad, about a job from your company, whether it's an email, whether it's a job posting, whether it's an actual physical ad, which we know doesn't happen that much, but some people are still doing it, whether it's a listing on your website, whatever that is, anything that's seen externally by potential candidates about a job, you need to think about as an ad. And as such, you don't want to lead with who you are. I know it's really tempting to do that, but what you really want to lead with is, why is this a great job? Why should a fully employed person take this position? And that includes your company, but it's not just your company. It really starts with the you know, what we call it, the what's in it for me, right? Why does a top person take this company, you know, leave their job and come and take this job at your company? And Jeffrey, I know you can't really talk, but I'd love it if you would just type in for us. You know, you said people frequently leave other top brands to join us. Why? Why? What is it about your company, your brand, that causes people to leave the competition and come to work for you? Because that's what you want to lead with in your ad. That's what you're going to want to get people's attention with, is that EVP. And then, of course, you add from there the work that needs to be done, right? This is why this is great work that you want to be, that wants to happen. And then you also have to put in there any kind of job description or requirements that you need in terms of putting that together. So you lead with the EVP, and then go to the doing and then the having. So future, present, and then past. And that kind of gets you the order in which you want to put your messaging together from the perspective of advertising, of anything that goes external to your company. So we're talking about this. How do you build the EVP? Starts with the company brand. Who's your company? What value does it provide? Why is your company a great company to work for? Why is your job a great job? So I'm curious, we talked about some of the challenges, and some of the things that you said was that you're having a hard time finding people to, whether it's engaging engineers or whether it is finding somebody, you've got the purple squirrel issue, which is another question. But, how do you get people, a highly technical person, away from a highly paying contract job to a more stable but lower paying job, right? So how, for that person who's already got this contract job, how do you make the argument that your job is a great job? What are you able to sort of sell them on that makes that? So one of the things you need to understand is, what are the challenges of being in a contract position? So what are the things that are not as desirable? Obviously, they make more money, but there's also challenges to that. A contract can get canceled. So the security of, stable and secure, but not just that. There's a whole set of other things that top performers really care about. And it can be that they own something, that they are truly contributing to the success of a company. They're having an impact. So a lot of times what happens in contract work is that you're not really able to own what you do. In other words, you have the company working, you do work for that company, but it's not really your company. And you're not truly integrated into the culture in terms of those things. So you've got to really think about not just why is your job a great job, but why is it a great job for somebody who, who is currently working contract or currently working for your competitor. Whoever the people are you're trying to recruit, who is the person for whom your job is a great job? And then you really need to develop that 30-second elevator pitch. You guys are familiar with an elevator pitch from the concept of advertising that says, hey, this is why this is a great job for you to consider. And that's what you need to be able to leave on somebody's voicemail. That's what you need to be able to put in an email. That's what you need to be able to do to explain to somebody why they should take the time to talk to you, why they should go through a phone screening with you, why they should consider using their top-paying contract job to come and work for you. So it's really understanding how you can put that together and then present it through a variety of different media to really attract people. So, and we're going to go through a couple examples about that, about why that's really how you can do that. But in the meantime, I'm curious if you think about, and I want to know if I've got a guinea pig, if there's anybody that sort of wants to work through this with me. If somebody is willing to say, I will, because I'd really love to put this together for somebody's job. Have I got any volunteers? And if I don't, I may try calling with somebody. Oh, Rachel raised her hand. Thank you, Rachel. Okay. Rachel, can you unmute yourself? Or can we unmute her potentially? Oh, she can type quickly. Okay, great. Perfect. So, Rachel, first tell me what the job is. Let's pick a job to do this for. Okay, she's typing quickly. Oh, a channel sales manager. Okay, that's great. Now, you said that you don't have any kind of a brand at the high level. You're one for a brand, but if I were to look at your website, what would be the primary thing that would be on your website that says why people should do business with your company? So what's sort of the high-end, the highest brand, you would say, and just Okay, but that's your careers page. That's more the EVP. Why, just at the highest level, why is your company a good company, even to customers? So why does somebody do business with your company as opposed to somebody else? Is it the quality of the work? Is it, product offering. There you go. Okay, so you've got a unique product and there's no direct competitor. Perfect. So that's actually very attractive, right? So you want to talk to a channel manager and you say, hi, I'm Rachel. I'm working with Acme Company. I'll just use Acme. We are in this space. We have a unique product offering. with no direct competitors, which puts us in a very favorable place in our market. In addition to that, we have a very strong culture, a fabulous benefits package, an owner that recognizes good work and that hires people who do well. We've had no turnover, or almost no turnover, in this period of time. So here we go. So that's why you're a good company. Unique product offering, no direct competitor. Here's your culture. And now I'd really like to talk to you about this channel sales manager job, which I think might be really attractive for you because, okay, so we know why you're a good company, we know why you're a great place to work, so now you've got to come up with, why is this a great job? And so that becomes a question. So this channel, why is this a really good job for somebody? Do they own the whole channel? Is this a chance to have a big impact? Is there a strong career path from there? So why is this a really good job? Okay, there you go. So this is an incredibly important position in our company. It's going to be where we expect our new growth to come from. You would be heading up all of our distribution and would have a tremendous ability to shape and build that as you move forward. Okay, so there you go. So that's the concept. Rachel, thank you so much. That was great. So here's my company brand. I have a unique product offering with no direct competitors. My employer brand. We have a strong culture, great benefits, almost no turnover. Everybody loves it here. Nobody wants to leave. And I have a job that's going to be directly impacting the success of our company over the next year. And really something that you can come in, you can create this whole program, do the whole distribution. So there's your 30-second pitch. Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. So that's the concept. Rachel, thank you. That was a great way, and you do type quickly. So does everybody kind of get the concept of how that works? Does anybody have any questions about that before we move on? Because that's really the heart of it. This is the heart of how you put your messaging together. And then we'll talk about how we can use that in different media, from email to whatever. But the great thing is to have everybody who's talking to the candidate, from the recruiter to the hiring manager, to have this thing down. And let me tell you another reason why this is so important, why it's important to have that 30-second elevator speech about why this is a great job. Because particularly with millennials, when millennials are looking at jobs, they don't make a decision by themselves. They talk to other people. They consult, on average, 5 to 7 people. And what you want to do is arm them with this explanation of why this is a great job, so that when they tell their partner, their parent, their friends, their posse, whatever that might be, that they're thinking about taking a job, and the person goes, who is that? Who is that company? I've never even heard of them. They're fully armed to be able to say, well, they have this unique product offering, there's really no direct competitors, they've got an owner who really invests in the company, and I would own this. I would be doing the whole distribution strategy. You want them to be able to answer that as well and be able to repeat that so that they can kind of defend the concept with the people that they're talking to. Okay, so I don't see any follow-up questions here, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. So what are common EVP attributes? So if you're sitting there saying, oh, what can I, for a company, you generally see things like security, stability, industry position, size, growth. Even if you're a small company, if you're growing really fast, that's something you should be highlighting, because people who are starting in with small companies that are really growing, there's a lot of opportunity there. And that's the other thing, is what is the opportunity? How can you then sell that job as being a stretch opportunity? How do you talk about future career opportunities at your company and development opportunities? These are all things that often get built into that, as well as that work environment, camaraderie, a collegial work environment, work-life balance, all of those things. Whatever your strengths are, at any of these levels, these are things that you want to be able to build into your EVP and into your whole question of why is your job a great job. So a couple things to think about depending on where you are hiring. So again, if you're looking at millennials, some of the things that really matter to millennials have to do with good corporate citizenship. So if you are doing things where you are charity events, or if you're a green company, or if you are focusing on energy independence, anything like that, anything that talks about how you give back to the community, how you are a good corporate citizen, that's something that's important to millennials. Another thing that's really important to millennials, and in fact the number one thing that will keep a millennial in a job, because if you've been doing any hiring of millennials, you probably realize they expect to change jobs every 18 to 24 months. So is tuition reimbursement. If you're trying to hire millennials, the most important benefit you can add is tuition reimbursement, because it's just so expensive for them to go back and get any kind of a degree, and in some cases even to get a college degree. One of the clients that we're working with has been incredibly effective at hiring people by going after people with associate's degree, with a 2-year degree, and then putting together a plan whereby they can get their 4-year degree, the other 2 years of college, paid for by the company under certain conditions. So they have to have a certain grade point average, they'll only pay so many courses, such that it probably takes them 4 years to get out of it, and then if they leave before a certain period of time, they have to pay it back. So there's some stuff in there, but this has proven to be incredibly valuable because people are having a hard time paying for college, and it's really helped them in their position where they are not able to, they've had a hard time hiring these folks. So think about who you're trying to hire and think about what's most important to them. And how you can potentially add that specifically to your job. When you're talking about technical people, they want to be on the latest and greatest technology. They care about getting training. They care about working with really smart people. So how do you make that argument? How do you make the argument that yes, if they leave the current contract position they're in, then not only will they really be a member of a team and be able to see things through and own whole projects or own whole pieces of things, but you're going to additionally get them training that makes sure that they're always on the latest and greatest. If that's an argument that you can make, that's something that can be very powerful. So you want to really think about it from the perspective of who are you trying to recruit and how can you really talk to what's going to be important to that person. So one of the things you also want to do is define your ideal candidate, right? So who's your ideal candidate? What are they doing now? Where do they work? What type of work are they doing? What has your candidate achieved, so you'll recognize them, and then think about what factors would cause that ideal candidate to be interested in your offer. So what can you try to put together in your messaging that's going to really convince these people to consider coming to your company? And then you want to think about what are your ideal candidates' intrinsic motivators. And when I say intrinsic motivators, I think what are the things that really matter to them. And I thought it was great that when we're talking about contract jobs, that you consider an intrinsic motivator to be stability, right? That can be true. Security and stability can be a strong intrinsic motivator. I have a client that deals with call centers, and they have 2 completely different candidates that they pull in for that call center. One of them is college hiring. They bring those people in. It happens to be insurance, by the way. They bring these people in. They come in. They work the phones. They get certain certifications, and then they move up in the company. And that's the value proposition for these people. That's the intrinsic motivator. We are going to teach you sales, or we are going to get you the certification. We are going to get your foot in the door and start you on your career path. There's an entirely different group that they do, because those people don't stay very long. Obviously, they're kind of up or out. Then there's an entirely different group of people who are mothers coming back into the workforce. And they target those people very specifically. The intrinsic motivator of those people is they want stability, they want work-life balance, they want to be able to come in and leave the job behind and not have to do that. So they want to talk to adults, which doesn't hurt, but so they want a true community. They want to feel like they're supported. So to that audience, for those folks, they go out with a completely different message that focuses on those things and focus on those intrinsic motivators, which is to start to get back out into the workforce while still being able to make that transition, you know, with the kids going to school and everything else like that, to have that flexibility. So think about who your ideal candidate is. In this case, they're hiring from both of those groups into the same call center, but the way that they do it and the way that they do the messaging and how they go about it is completely different, because what the ideal candidate is looking for is very different with these two groups. So then you want to think about, does your current messaging meet this person's needs? You're not going to be able to hire the stay-at-home moms with the same messaging that you're using for the college graduates. So you want to think about, are you doing that in the way that you want to? So if you think about potentially what are your ideal candidates' intrinsic motivators, I'd be curious to know. Type them in. What do you think the intrinsic motivators are of the folks that you're trying to hire? So for that channel manager position, Rachel, what's the intrinsic motivator there? Is somebody looking for the next step up? Are they looking to build something? Are they looking to own something? What do we think are the intrinsic motivators that we have in some of these cases? So any ideas that you have along that concept, just go ahead and type that into the box. If you look at healthcare, in a lot of cases, the intrinsic motivator there is helping people, is being able to feel like they're contributing. And making people's lives easier or better or things like that. A lot of times in the financial industry, people are really like the detail. They like to be able to dig in. Give them the opportunity, oh, I like that. There you go. Opportunity to work directly for a manufacturer and rep of a well-established product. That's great. Money, yes, but that's a great point. Money is actually not an intrinsic motivator. It's an extrinsic motivator. Right? Opportunity is and giving the opportunity and being the ability, learning, yes, that's an intrinsic motivator. Money is extrinsic, and the reason why, okay, the opportunity to make money, yes, that's good. And you know what? If it's salespeople, that's always going to be what it is. So depending on the position, I have to agree with you, the opportunity to make money. But you want as much as possible to get away from compensation and get to the opportunity. Now, if you're talking about the opportunity to make money, then that's a little different. But because you can't always pay people enough. You can't always pay people enough to get them to switch. So you have to be able to sell your job based on these intrinsic motivators, based on these opportunities, based on the learning, based on the ability to grow in their career, all of those types of things. So you want to be able to really look at it from that perspective. So, are we looking at things that are internal, external growth, stability, technical team, or can you accelerate a stalled career? Can you give them opportunities that they don't have where they currently are? And that really gets you that elevator speech, as we've talked about. The EVP, why look, why leave, connect that job brand to the mission, going away, going towards. So that's a question of whether or not you're dealing with a passive or an active candidate. And how you sell this is going to depend on which it is. If it's somebody who's actively looking, obviously they need another job, and so you don't have to sell it quite as hard. If it's somebody who's passive, somebody who's going towards, going away from their job, then you really have to work a little bit harder to get that person. A lot of top performers are really attracted to a big challenge, the ability to really make an impact and have a lot of growth, and so that can be something as well that you can sell in terms of that. And then you've really got to get that compelling title or tagline for when you start to send something out in ads. So let's talk about our ads and how we need to put those together, and that comes down to our advertising rules of thumb. So I know I keep saying you want to think about anything that goes external to your company about a job as an ad. Here are some advertising rules of thumb. You have 7 seconds to catch someone's attention. It used to be 10, and now it's 7. That means our attention span is less than the attention span of a goldfish, which is 9 seconds, so that's a little concerning. But you have a very brief period of time when somebody is looking at jobs or when somebody is listening to your message or looking at your email. You've got about 7 seconds to catch their attention. So you've got to use some kind of attention-getting mechanism to get this person to engage with you. And it can be the title of your ad, it can be your EVP, it can be, hey, you know, if you're talking to a salesperson, hey, I'd really like to talk to you about a way in which you can make more money than you're currently making. Okay, that's going to probably get their attention. You know, even though I said I know money is not normally what we should use, but what is that attention-getting mechanism that you're going to get? Which is, hey, I'd like to talk to you about this channel manager position, which is critical to our company. It's going to be where the most, you know, most of our growth is going to come in the next year. You know, whatever that might be, and try different things. You know, you're trying to talk to people all the time. Figure out what are those things. What's that thing you can say in the first 7 seconds? And it can't be, you know, hi, this is Carolyn. I was wondering if you had time to talk to me about a potential job. Okay, they've already hung up on you. So what, or have said, you know, deleted the voicemail. So what you want to be able to say is, hey, you know, I have an opportunity to help you make money, you know, and catch them in those first 7 seconds, and then tell them more about who you are and what your company is a little further down the line. Keep your sentences short, less than, this is advertising, right, which, you know, but especially anything that you're doing in ads, keep your sentences short. Show is more effective than tell. So if you can do anything with graphics, do something with graphics. But when you think about it from an ad perspective, and by this I mean an email or something that you're putting in a job posting, you want to highlight the brands or the job's unique, compelling benefit. You want to include a call to action if potentially you want to tell a story, and effective ads are also simple. So you want those to be simple as well. So let's just look at a couple examples, and that'll bring it home to you. So here's my title, Oscar-winning controller or directing of accounting. It starts with, if you want to accelerate your career growth, stop thinking about day one stuff, instead think year one and beyond. Take this search we're working on now, small LA-based entertainment that's asked us to find a finance and admin executive to help them become as big as their dreams. If you're interested, for a CPA, this is the stuff of dreams, getting out of the numbers and making a difference, right? So when you think about it, that's really, you know, I'd even move this up further. Hey, here's something, hey, CPA, I have a job where you can get out of the numbers and really make a difference for our company. That's your lead. That's where you really get somebody's attention. The attention-getting mechanism is the title, because that's what people see first, Oscar-winning controller or directing of accounting. So that becomes something that becomes really interesting from that perspective. The format, again, is leading with that information as opposed to everything that you need to have. And then we tell them a little bit about the job. You know, this is what you're going to be doing. This is what you can become, but this is the present. Upgrade every single accounting system, take over and rebuild admin, rebuild budgeting, you know, all these terms that are important to a top performer, having a real impact. Now then, yeah, we do say something about skills. Yeah, we need somebody with a CPA, right? So, and an MBA would add a lot of credibility. So we do say something about skills from that perspective. But then you'll say, if you pull this off, all the folks you're working with will be thanking you when they receive their Oscars and Emmys. So that, again, is something that gets in there. And that's part of the EVP right there, right? As well as for the stuff of dreams. So it tells a story. It says, this is what can happen to you if you happen to work, if you look at this offer or consider this offer. And you want it to be something, you know, there are things like compensation, the company people, yes, so we do talk about this. But really the most important thing is this is the work that you can do and this is the impact you can have, getting out of the numbers, making a difference. So that's one example, which hopefully gives you some concept of the way all of this works. Here's another one. This is an email. This starts out with open letter from the CEO to my next VP of HR, which hopefully is something that's going to get people to open the email. And it starts, I need help making our business become as big as it possibly can, but we can't do it without you. So do you think people are going to read the rest of that email based on that? That's trying to make the best use of the 7 seconds. So here's background. We're growing rapidly. We've stretched this. We need to become total focused on what really matters. Every single person in this company and everyone will be hiring in the future. If we get this part right, there's no stopping us to pull it off. We need a top-notch VP of HR to build the right type of HR organization. You're going to be, not only will you have a seat at the strategic table, you'll often be at the head of it. So, all about the candidate, all about the what's in it for me. So, again, it's from the hiring manager, in this case, from the CEO. We're leading with the EVP. This is what you can become. Our company is growing very rapidly, and you're the person that can help us make this happen. Highlight the doing, what you're going to be able to do, and then de-emphasize the skills. All you're trying to do with this message is get somebody to come in and meet with you. Then you have the time to tell them everything else that you need to tell them. This is just to get them in the door. So remember, what we're talking about is we're using messaging to attract top talent. It doesn't have to close the deal. You've just got to get people in the door, and that's why we focus so much on the EVP, on the what's in it for me in terms of those top performers. And then just get them to chat. Just get them to chat. What's the call to action? Just talk to me. Everything that you do should have a call to action. Call me to chat. And it shouldn't necessarily be apply. It should be, let's just have a conversation with a passive candidate, especially with a voicemail. Hey, this might not be, do you have 5 minutes just to chat with me about this? And that's where you want to go. So how do you appeal to top performers? What are some of the terms that you want to use? And they have to deal with ownership. You're going to own something. You're going to have impact. You're going to have visibility, opportunity. You're going to be a change agent. We're going to increase your expertise. These are all the kinds of things that appeal to top performers. So that's the kind of terminology that you want to use as you get there. Now, some of this stuff can be hard to come up with. So one of the ways to do it is to really talk to people that are new employees and ask them, what attracted you to this job? You know, what else were you considering? Why did you choose this job? And now that you're here, what excites you the most about your job? So it's really possible to talk to people, and not just new employees, but maybe companies that have been there, people that have been there with your company for a while, that will really give you help in terms of helping to put some of this together. When you're thinking about why your company is a great place to work, ask them, hey, why do you like working here? Why do you like this job? Why is this better than other jobs that you looked at? Why is this better than the other jobs that you've had? So you can do that kind of research to really sort of help you start to understand how you can pull together some of this messaging. And the other thing is, you know, the recruiter and the hiring manager working very closely together as a team to help pull this together. Okay, that's what I wanted to cover with you guys today. So what questions do you have? Any questions on your side? Anybody want some help with what you think is a particularly difficult job maybe to put this together on? I was talking to a hiring manager and I asked them, why was their job a great job? And their answer was, it's not, it's a really bad job. So it took us a while to get away from that. But any other questions? Well, okay. I think we're pretty close to time here. JJ, did I miss anything?
No, you didn't. At least not that I. One thing that's interesting to me when you talk about bad jobs is something that I had heard a while ago, that for every person, for every job, there is somebody that will look at it as a step up.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I think. You know, I think good job, bad job is kind of all relative depending on who it is that's looking at the position.
And that's really where I had to go with this hiring manager who said they had a bad job, was we had to figure out, well, then who's the person for whom this is a great job? And it actually changed who they were looking for. You know, it let her look for somebody who was a slightly lower level so that this really did become a step up. So if you feel like, and that's a great point, JJ, so if you look at this and say, this is a terrible job, you're not looking for the right candidate. I mean, we have helped, you know, hotel firms hire cleaning people. And there are people for whom that is a great job, something that we wouldn't necessarily think was a great job. There's people for whom that's a great job. So once you understand who your job is a great job for, it's really going to help you with this messaging. Guys, thank you so much for spending time. Where can I find out more about messaging? We talk about this a lot in our online training, so you can take a look at that. There's also, I think, quite a few articles out there. The other thing, Bob, I would do is honestly just Google EVP. There's a ton of stuff out there that'll really walk you through. There's a bunch of stuff that says, here's a 10-step way to come up with a good EVP and that type of thing. So I would try that. I would consider maybe taking our online courses. So those are a couple options in terms of that.
And on that subject, if you are a recruiting leader or a hiring manager with direct hiring manager reports, you can audit Module 1 of our performance-based hiring program, and that's happening actually this Friday is Module 1. It's the first of 4 modules. So I'll include that information in the follow-up email. So if you're a recruiting leader or a hiring manager leader, then we would love to have you audit Module 1 if you'd like to just get a flavor for that. And I'll send that information of how to do that in a follow-up email. Also in the follow-up email will be a link to a survey. Please, please, please take the survey because we are always trying to improve webinars and improve the topics of things that people want to hear and learn about. So please do take that survey so that we can improve what we offer here at the Adler Group.
And thank you guys so much for your time. I really enjoyed working with you, and thank you so much to those of you which were so helpful in giving me information and something to work here.
Great.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kathy, and we'll be looking for that email in your follow-up in your inbox in about an hour, and we look forward to seeing you at future Adler Group webinars. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.